Hi, Sarah. I just wanted to say how much of a fan I am of yours. Thank you so much for doing an interview with me. Before we start, could you just give a quick introduction of who you are?
Hi, Lara. It is a pleasure to be with you, actually, and I'm sorry we couldn't do it any other way, but hopefully next time it will be better. So, my name is Sarra Lajnef. I'm Tunisian. I'm an Olympic swimmer, 2015 Master World Champion, African champion, Arab champion, French junior champion, you name it. I've been swimming since I was 5 years old, and now I'm still swimming, but not as like on the high level as I used to be.
So, how did you get into swimming? Like, what age did you start swimming, and how did you get into it?
Well, I got into swimming thanks to my older brother. Actually, he had asthma, and the doctor advised my mom to take him to swim. And as I was younger than him, I'm 2 years younger than him, and she couldn't leave me alone at the house. She took me along with him, and that's how I started swimming. And I kept on going since then. I was 5 years old, and I had 20 plus years of swimming career.
What are your favorite events in swimming?
I pretty much done it all since I started swimming, but my specialty and my favorite events is the 200 breaststroke and the 200 IM. But I do actually swim, I swam the 200 backstroke, the 400 IM. That used to be the event that always gets me into competitions. And then I used to swim also mid-distance freestyle, 200, 400. But my main event is the 200 breaststroke and the 200 IM.
So, what would you say the most challenging part of swimming is for you? Would you say it's waking up in the morning? Would you say it's maybe what you eat? Would you say it's the actual training itself? What would you say is the hardest part for you as a swimmer?
The hardest part in sports in general, not only in swimming, is to keep the motivation, is to be motivated even when you're off season or you don't have competitions coming up, because it's easy to have goals and to go to train for a competition, let's say in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. But when you're off season, it's easier to just let go and get into a wrong routine. So for me, that's the hardest thing. Waking up is really not, it's just when you get used to it, it's not a problem anymore. But I think the most challenging thing is to keep the motivation high so you can reach your goals.
So, how did you keep your motivation high? And were there times when you felt like giving up? How did you get out of it? How did you stay motivated? Was there anything that you did, like a routine, or what did you tell yourself to keep motivated?
There's never a career that would be easy, or goals that would be easy to reach. Motivation, it's hard to keep, but maybe my way of keeping myself motivated was to put goals for myself, short-term goals, mid-term and long-term. So I always had something to work for, and I always had a checkpoint where I needed to get so I can move to the next one. So that for me was the most important thing, and then the support of my surrounding, my family, my friends, everyone that was around me. Their support was very meaningful for me. So that's how I kept going, I guess, for that long. But one other thing that also kept me motivated is that for me, I was always working for something bigger than myself. I really wanted to inspire, and I wanted the little kids that look up to me, see in me a role model that they can follow, and especially for girls, to tell them that we can do things, everything can happen if we put the effort and the right motivation and the right work into it. It will happen, and nothing is impossible when you put all the odds on your side.
So, knowing what you know now with your experience in professional competitive swimming, what advice would you give young girls starting swimming or competing?
my advice to young swimmers and young athletes in general is to believe in themselves. That's the first thing, because if you believe in yourself, you would be able to surpass any difficulties that you can encounter on your path. Because success is not easy, but it is possible. So believing in themselves is the most important thing, and then not listening to the people that are trying to tell them that they're not worth it or they cannot do it. Once they believe in themselves, they will keep going, and they have to keep going until they reach their goals. They need to put the effort, the work, the right motivation, surround themselves by positive people, not negative. Avoid all the negativity that could be around them, and that's how they would reach their goals and succeed in their career.
Speaking of criticism and negative energy, have you ever been criticized for being a female swimmer in the Muslim world, or just being criticized for something else? And could you please explain how you got out of it?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's easier for people to criticize you than to motivate you or to give you that little push, because whether we like it or not, a lot of people can be jealous of your career or what you've achieved. Yes, definitely. I've had a lot of criticism, not being it's always challenging to be a female athlete, because it's always easier to be a guy and an athlete in our culture. But for me, it was also it was the age. So they were I was 18, and they were telling me that I was too old to compete anymore, while we have swimmers competing at the Olympics at 30, 40 years old. Sarra Lajnef competed at the Olympics while she was 45 after having 2 or 3 kids. So it's negative people and people who want you who wants to see you down. They would say anything to demotivate you and to just find that little spot that is in to get into you. For me, the way I got out of it is that because I believed in myself, and every time that they think I fell down, I would stand back up and just show them that I was worth it, and I was not old as they said, or I was a girl, yes, but I was capable of doing things that guys couldn't do. So that's how I went about it. It's just I needed to be strong in my head and not listen to negative messages, and just keep going through my path and the path that I put for myself. Laura, it's not only about swimming. I got into rowing almost 2 years ago, and when I went for my first training in rowing, the coach looked at me and he was like, "How old are you?" I told him 27, and he said, "You've never held an oar or been on a boat, a rowing boat?" I was like, "No." He was like, "What are you doing here?" So he was that blunt and that direct that I looked at him, I smiled, and I said, "Just try me. Don't judge me before you see what I'm capable of. Yes, I've never done rowing. Yes, I've never been on a rowing boat, but I'm an athlete. And athletes, if they put something in their head, they can reach it." I got into that boat. The first 2 sessions, I was getting on the boat and falling, and it was a nightmare. He was looking and laughing at me. But then, a month later, I was Tunisian champion in the coastal rowing. So the coach was jumping over the rock when he saw me getting in first. And he came to me and he said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I doubted you, and I'm sorry that I wanted to discourage you even before you started." So that's how it is. That's the world we live in. But we just need to have the right thoughts and just keep going. If we believe in ourselves, everything will be fine after it.
Wow, that's a great story. I can't believe you did that. That's really cool. So would you say that's the most frustrating stereotype you encounter, your age, or would you say it's something else? So what would you say the most frustrating stereotype you encounter is?
Yes, age is one. It is because for us, like in our Arab world, girls are supposed to be married at a young age, or like having a family and having kids and staying at home. But she's not really supposed to be an athlete. So it's like a mixed thing, age and being a female athlete. In our parts of the world. So, but actually, the good thing is that the ideas are changing, and our societies are starting to understand that girls can also be athletes and can be great athletes and can achieve a lot of things, even sometimes better than boys. So that's the positive thing about it, and we will keep pushing and trying to push for that and eliminate that idea of that it is a taboo that a girl would be an athlete. So, but there are only positive things that are coming in our way, inshallah.
So, how did it feel? How did it feel to represent Tunisia in international competitions?
It was always a pleasure and an honor to represent my country and to see the flag raising up high, especially when I would come first and listening to our national anthem playing there in the whole pool or sometimes in the games. So it was really an honor to represent my country.
So, which countries / competitions have you swam in?
I remember the first time I got a gold medal at the African Championships in 2010 in Morocco. And in the 200 breaststroke, I broke the championship record and I got first. And when the national anthem started playing, I couldn't hold my tears. I was crying. I was very emotional. It's like a feeling that we cannot really explain or describe, because it's such a pride, it's like a really proud moment, and you feel like you made your country proud of you and the whole nation. So it's really an indescribable feeling that you feel when you get on the podium while representing your country. Well, to recap, I swam at the Arab Championships, Arab Games, African Championships, African Games, French National Championships. I did the Greek Nationals. I did the Serbian Nationals. I swam at the Portuguese Nationals, Irish Nationals. Did the Olympics in 2012. Was the first Tunisian to qualify for the Olympics. I did World Championships, World Cups. My first World Championships short course was in 2008 in Manchester. And then 2015 I participated at the Master World Championships, where I won 1 gold in the 200 IM and then 3 silver in the 200 breaststroke, 100 breaststroke and 200 freestyle. Mediterranean Games, Mediterranean Championships, Pan-Pacific Games. We were invited to it in 2010. That's all I recall, I think.
Wow, that's a lot of competitions. What was the 2012 Summer Olympics like?
Oh God, the Olympics. It was quite an experience. It was really overwhelming to just be in the athlete village, where all the countries and all the athletes from all over the world, from different disciplines, be in one place, and you just see them around the village, in the restaurant, or somewhere in the village. The competition was amazing too. Unfortunately for me, I had an accident 3 weeks before that. I actually had a hole in my lungs, where I almost could have died from it. But alhamdulillah, it went, I passed it. But my preparation got cut 3 weeks before the Olympics. So I actually didn't do the result I was hoping for and I was expecting. But as a competition, it was amazing. It was really one of a kind. It's it's not for nothing that the Olympics are the dream of all athletes. Like any athlete, if you ask them what's the dream competition that they would participate at, it would be the Olympics, definitely. Like the Summer Olympics for the summer sports and the Winter Olympics for the winter sports. So it was really a great, great, great experience.
Wow, thank God you're safe and everything is okay with you now, mashallah. Could you take me through your day as a swimmer?
My day. Okay, so I wake up around, I have like different routines. So when I'm training in the morning, I would wake up around like 5:30, get a little breakfast, which consists into like a banana or like a cereal bar or something like that. It's not too heavy on my stomach. Then go for my swimming practice in the morning. Then have another, like a second breakfast. Having like going to the gym after that. When I was at school, I used to go like to school, and then lunch, then having practice at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. We do 1 hour dry land, and then like 1.5 hours to 2 hours of swimming, and then dinner at 6, and like last but not least, like homework. Now, for me, because as I work now and I'm not in school anymore, I would just like do the same routine in the morning, either like swimming or lifting in the morning, like having a first breakfast, lifting or swimming, then having my second breakfast, going to work. So I work full time now. So go to work and then have a snack around like 5 p.m., leave work, go to training, where I would either like run, bike, or do something. I don't swim in the afternoon. And then dinner. So that's my day. I go to bed around like 9:30, 10 p.m. at max.
So if I may ask, is your financial situation good with swimming? So did swimming provide you money? Was it good financially, or was the work just a passion of yours? Like, did you need the work to survive? And yeah.
Yes, definitely. I'm working to survive. It's not the other way around. I mean, yes, I work in something that I love, but I can't live like, and I couldn't, even before I couldn't live off of swimming. Swimming, and especially like in our region, is not a sport that can let you live off of it and just have like a full professional career. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I just like backed off a little bit, because sponsorship is not like very available, and I had to work. So and as like all athletes know, and all like sport people know, that to be a full-time professional athlete, you cannot have like a job and train at the same time, because actually training is your full-time job. It should be, if you're a professional athlete. So for me now, I don't consider myself as a professional athlete because I cannot live off of swimming. Until I figure out a way for myself to be a full professional swimmer or a full professional athlete in any other sport, I have to work to live and to like have money to spend on my sport, because I cannot stop like practicing. I cannot stop sports because it's part of me. It's part of my life. It's part of my routine. But also I have to work in order to survive and be able to do that sport that I love.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So what do you usually eat as a swimmer, like every day? Like you said that you eat a snack and dinner and lunch, but what does it consist of?
Well, like for breakfast, for example, I try to do like a balanced diet where I have like my protein, my carbs, and my fats. So as I told you, like in the morning, for example, my pre-workout would be a banana or like a bar, or some nuts like almonds or pecans with some raisins, and then or dates. Dates are very good in the morning too, because like it gives you the energy that you need to go through your workout. workout. And then after morning practice, I would eat my protein. That's the most important to like refuel my muscles. So it would be mostly eggs. And then sometimes I would get like a yogurt, like a low-fat yogurt, or some fromage blanc, which is like white cheese, but it's not really white cheese, so it's like a yogurt. For lunch, it would be like a soup. So I usually get like a chicken soup with some brown bread, which it has like, and then like I have my carbs, my protein, as I told you. So, and the pre-workout snack in the afternoon would be mostly like something sweet, so nuts, like mixed nuts with some dried bananas and some raisins, so something that would give me energy right away. And for dinner, I would get like a salad with some like either grilled salmon or like grilled meat, or like a steak or something, something that is not too heavy on my stomach and still gives me like refuels my muscles after my workout. So that's pretty much. And I do drink a lot of water during the day. Although that would change a little bit if I have a competition, because so we do like carbo load before competitions. So for example, like 3 days before the big competition, you start like carbo loading, so you can have enough energy to go through the competition. So the carbo loading will consist, like, you still eat your proteins and everything, but you just like do a carbs load. That's what the carbo load is about. So you eat like healthy carbs, which is like brown pasta or like pasta, rice, beans, lentils, brown bread. So you try to like eat those things more than you usually do, so you load your body with like the extra carbs that it can use during the competition. And that carb load, it will actually depend on the length of the competition, the importance of the competition, and the intensity of the competition. So you actually can do plus or minus depending on like your type of competition.
So before a race, do you still practice a lot? Like, do you pack a lot of practice in before you race, or do you actually reduce the amount you practice before a race? Like, say a week before a race, do you like do a lot or do like not that much?
So what you do before a competition is called taper, and taper is very important before a competition, but it's like a complete science around taper. So it really depends on the competition, like what competition you're getting into, and in what like period of your season. So if it's not a very important competition, you don't actually taper for it. So you do a competition while you're actually charged, while you are swimming and doing big amounts of training. But if it's an important competition, then actually taper can start even like a month before the competition. If it's like a very important competition, like a huge competition, like let's say the Olympics or like the Asian championships or like the Asian games or something that you've been like training for the whole year, and that's your main competition, then like the load of training starts decreasing little by little, even like a month before. So actually during taper, and when you have like a competition, you start reducing the volume of training and increasing the intensity of training. So you actually try to get as close as possible to the race pace that you will do at the competition, but in little amount. So you will do it like intense trainings, but shorter than what you usually do. That's what taper is actually about. So it really taper like depends on the competition itself. So I hope that I answered your question. And also taper will depend on the event that you're swimming, because taper for a 200-meter swimmer is not the same for a 50-meter swimmer, and it's not the same for a 1500 swimmer. Like probably what a 1500 swimmer would do during his taper would be your full training, if you're a 200-meter swimmer or a 50-meter swimmer. So that's why coaches really, like, during taper periods, they would make even more divided groups. So they divide the groups into like how long the distance is that you're swimming during a competition, so they know what kind of taper they will do for you.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Also, you mentioned in your routine that you do 1 hour of dry land training and then 2 hours of swimming. Do you usually stretch afterwards? Do you get sports massages? Do you go to a physiotherapist? How do you make sure that your body can handle all the exercise?
Physiotherapy and stretching are as important as nutrition and as training, if not like a little bit more important, because if your body doesn't recover from the previous practice, it will not be able to give you like full what you need during the next practice. So stretching after training is very important. Like warming up before practice is very important, and stretching after it is also very important. And then physiotherapy and sports massages are also imperative for like athletes and for swimmers and like athletes and any, like if you're doing any kind of activity, you need to have physiotherapy along with it to prevent injuries, to treat injuries, and to make your body recover. But with physiotherapy, the good thing to do is also ice bathing. So it's really good to get an ice bath after the afternoon practice, which will make your body recover faster, and it will allow you to be more like relaxed for the next training, and like less tired during the week. So physiotherapy, let's say massages are probably like during normal periods you would do them like once a week, and then if you're ice bathing every other day or every day, you're good to go. Before the competition, it becomes like good to do it like twice a week, to just like have your body, because you're doing more intense things, so your body needs to recover faster, so you can be ready for the competition.
That's great advice, Sarah. If you don't mind me asking, what do you do when you get your period? Does your routine change? Does it stay the same? What do you do if you get your period on a very important race? Would you say your period slows you down? And is there anything like that you change in your routine, like?
Well, the better is actually if you don't swim the first and the second day, depending if you actually get it, like if you have stomach aches while you're having your periods or not. But if you don't and you're used to swim with it, you just like lower your intensity a little bit. But if you could not to swim like the first and the second day, or the first or the second day, and you replace the swimming by another, like by dry land exercise, that's the best to do. And then you just get back into your normal routine. It's just like if you have cramps, you need to listen to your body, and you need to just like back off a little bit. If unfortunately you get your period during a competition, you just have to go with it and do your best, because I mean that's how our bodies are made, and we really have to manage it in the best way we can. Even if we know that when you have your period, you're just like have low energy, you just like feel not good, feeling dizzy, all these things happen, but you just try to manage it the way you can, because actually if you just push yourself over what your body can, you can have like problems. I mean, it happened to me a couple months ago in May when I had my last rowing competition here in Dubai, and I finished, I had to do like a race on a quadruple boat while we were three on the boat, we won the race, but when I got out, I actually kind of like passed out because I was getting my periods. Like my periods, I got them the same day, actually in the afternoon. But I knew that I was getting my periods, and I just pushed my body a little bit over, and it was just like I couldn't handle it. So you just try to manage it the best way you can, and it's better not to push yourself, at least for like the first like 2 to 3 days. Probably like a day before and 2 days during. You just try to like back off a little bit on your exercises, and then you just go on normally, because after the first and the second day, like even like your body gets used to it, and you just like go on with your normal routine.
That makes total sense. Would you say your coach is very important in terms of racing? I heard that Greg Troy, who is an Olympic coach, coached you. Did he have a big impact in terms of your racing? And do different coaches, do they specialize in different things? And would you recommend trying out more coaches and trying out different training camps? What is your advice on coaches and training in general?
Well, having a coach is very important, because as much as you can train by yourself, you will not push yourself to the max unless you have a coach with you. You could be the greatest motivated person on earth. You cannot push yourself as the coach would push you. And yes, coaches have different specialties. Like there you have coaches like distance coaches, mid-distance coaches, like breaststroke coaches. So coaches have specialties, and they're good at things and they lack at other things. So it is very important to have a coach, and it is important to be with the coach that you're comfortable with. It doesn't matter like how it does matter in a way, like the career of the coach and who he coached and what were his results. But what is even more important than that is like how you're feeling with that coach, because if you're not comfortable with the coach, you will not be doing your best performances, because you're not comfortable with that coach. You need to trust your coach, and you need to be comfortable with him or with her to be able to perform at your best. Trying camps like in other places is also like good, because you would be able to see different styles of coaching, like probably try new techniques, try new ways of training, and some of them might work with you more than what you're actually doing with your actual coach, with your current coach. But the important thing is to have a fixed coach that you're training with on regular basis, and then if you go like let's say twice a year, do like camps in good places, other places where you will train with people that are better than you, that are like have performances already, that you would just train with them to get better and to motivate yourself and to try different like styles and techniques of training. It's also great, and it will benefit you because you got out of your comfortable zone with your coach, and when you come back you will use those techniques and those things that you learned in the camps in your like everyday training.
So in terms of racing suits, do you think your swimsuit changes how you race? Do you wear different racing suits for different events? And which racing suits do you have? Do you have a preference, or... I also have another question. Do you have a word or phrase or mantra that you tell yourself before you race? Do you think music helps you a lot? Like, what was your pre-racing routine?
Music is very important because it actually takes your mind off of the stress that you would be feeling during a competition, and it just puts you into another mood. For me, my sentence that I say, not only during competitions or before the competitions, is what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's actually that what keeps me going all the time, because I've fallen so many times and I stood back up like stronger, because you learn from the mistakes and you learn from the losses, because losing is not the problem, just not like giving up is the problem. Like if you tried and you lost, it's not as like bad as not trying at all, because you wouldn't even know if you like would have got where you wanted to be if you just like quit before even trying. So that's my sentence. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So swimming suits are important for racing, because you actually, if everyone else is racing in a suit and you show up in your training suit, you will actually feel defeated even before you start your race. So they are important, but what's more important is you know which suit suits you the better. Because between Speedo and Arena, for example, for me, I know that Speedo goes with my body type and my body shape better than Arena. So for me, the most important thing in a swimsuit is to have like my quads not too tightened around, like to have like my quads breathing pretty much, because I swim breaststroke, and if my quads gets tight and the suit is too tight around my quads, I will not be able to kick. Same thing for my shoulders. I cannot handle a swimsuit that is like too tight on my shoulder and pressing down on my shoulders, because then I cannot have like my streamline as I want it. So for me, Speedo is good for me. Some other people prefer Arena, but the swimsuit in itself is important because it actually tightens your body and it makes it more aerodynamic by just like squeezing you into it.
These are great answers, and I'll definitely use them in the future. But I just wanted to ask you, are there any funny stories regarding your swimming career? Is there anything that was really funny or interesting that happened? Also, is there anything that you wish you knew when you were younger, when you were swimming before, that you know now? And what would it be?
Actually, yes, there's a funny story that I've been through. Actually, I was probably like 12, and we were during our like summer holidays on the beach with my parents and my brothers. And a lifeguard from the beach comes up to me and he's like, I can beat you, because he saw me swimming. So he was like, I can beat you. You cannot. I'm a lifeguard, and I'm like born in the sea, and I can swim like a fish and all that like thing and these talks. So I was like, okay, let's race. So his friends and like the lifeguards took us in the boat, and they said, okay, we're gonna drop you at one point. We're gonna go a little bit further, and both of you will swim towards us, and we will see who wins. So they dropped us in the water, and we started swimming, and he actually didn't, the poor guy didn't even like do probably like 20 meters, and he almost drowned. And I look back at him and I see him like suffocating in the water. So I just like swim back to him like as fast as I could, and I just got him there, and his friends came with the boat and we got him on the boat. And then it was like his friends started making fun of him. I mean, I felt really bad for the guy, but then he had to give me his lifeguard t-shirt. And for the day, I was a lifeguard instead of him. So, yeah, that what happens when, like, guys try to be, like, say that they're better than girls.
Wow, that is so funny. That is such a great story. Also, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So would you say that doing other sports besides swimming, would you say it helps in terms, or do you think it's like a really bad thing to do? Like, you've probably heard of CrossFit and all of these other things. Would you say that they help, or also, this is kind of a random question, but what do you think of supplements and protein powders? Do you think that they're bad for people who are bad for young children and young like teenagers who are growing up? Do you think it's bad for them to use it, or would you recommend them to use it, like in your opinion?
Oh, definitely. Practicing other sports really help you into swimming. So actually, rowing is a good sport to do with swimming, but not like rowing in the water, because swimmers will not get into the water and learn how to ride a boat. But getting on the rowing machine in the gym is very good, because actually us as swimmers, when we swim, our like body posture goes like our shoulders move forward, like towards the like forwards, because we swim freestyle and breaststroke and butterfly. So when we row on the rowing machine, it actually aligns our postures and puts our shoulders back, so it helps us keep a good posture. Also, running is very good because it helps with the stamina. Biking, CrossFit is important because it's good to have like a good physical health. So, because swimming, when we swim in the water, we don't like, yes, we work every single muscle in our body and it's like a complete and full sport, but we need the out of the water strength so we can be performant in the water. So doing other sports definitely help with swimming and performing better in swimming. Supplements are important into like an athlete diet because you cannot get everything from the food you're eating because we actually use a lot of energy and like overuse our bodies in a way that the food that we eat cannot give us all what we need to recover. So the best thing to do is to try to get as much as you can from the food that you're eating and have like a really good balanced diet. But then supplements are good when they're like controlled by a doctor and given by a doctor, and not just like you go to a pharmacy and buy whatever you want thinking that it will do something for you. You need to have a professional like a professional person giving you, like prescribing these supplements for you so they can help you and put you on like a precise period of time, because you cannot take supplements like for a long period of time. It's just like little cures that you do during the year that will help you through your performance and through like the tough periods of training during competitions and during like different periods of your training. So but definitely not taking supplements out of nowhere, like just walking into a place and then buying supplements thinking that they will help, because they will do more bad in your body than good if you don't know what you're doing.
Okay, so I think we'll wrap up the interview. Thank you so much, Sarah, for letting me interview. It was an honor, and I really enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed it too. Is there
The last thing I want to add before we wrap up is that believing in yourself is the most important thing. Believing. And if you believe in yourself and put the work necessary into it, anything and everything will be possible. So that's the message that I would want to give to every single girl and every single little athlete that is trying to work their way into like sports, to keep their heads up and keep their goals between their eyes and not listen to any negative thoughts or any negative people that are trying to dissuade them from what they wanted to do. So that's really the most important that I want to say. Never give up. Never, ever give up. That's actually more important than even anything else. Never give up.